Yes. Oh man. I apologize. I am a few minutes behind today. A few minutes behind today. So I apologize. I'm a little late. My week 3 picks video is out. Please check it out. What I'm doing this year is with my picks videos, I'm not going into a lot of detail. I'm just giving you kind of a quick overview. And then if you want some more detail, please, I'm thinking just join the show and ask me some questions. I can give you a little more feedback. Going forward, I may make individual videos about each game, kind of break them down into a little more detail. But the picks videos, I try to keep kind of short and sweet. Perry, I'm a lot better now that you're here, brother. Every time I see you, it always brightens up my day, man. I am excited. How are you? How are you doing this week? Who are my must-win team this week? It's really funny that you say that because I had a buddy of mine and he put a comment in the picks video. He's like, "Look, I'm in a Survivor League. I mean, who do I pick?" And I think the team that's got the most on the line, and I do predict they will win. Spoiler alert. Is the Bengals. They play on Monday night against Washington. I think it's going to be a surprisingly good game. But I would be really I mean, listen, if you're the Bengals after that last second loss to Kansas City, if you're the Bengals on Monday night, and by the way, it's kind of fun because it's a battle of Heisman Trophy winners, Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks from LSU going against each other. But if you're the Bengals and you lose on Monday night to go 0-3, especially against a rookie quarterback, you may. I mean, there's going to be some problems. There's going to be some major problems. Going to be some major problems. I mean, there's a few teams I could argue that really need to win. But if you had to give me one, I think it's Cincinnati. The Lions need a good win. That is it's kind of funny because I think going into the season, I think a lot of people may have looked at this game and kind of poo-pooed it. But, I mean, this is going to be a really good game. Lions at Arizona. I want to double check this. Out of all the games this week, that's the only one that the point spread over under is over 50. And one thing about doing the picks videos, I do point spread predictions. Scoring is down in the NFL, and I think it's great. I'm telling you right now, a live game when it's 17-14 is much better than a live game that's 48-45. I'm telling you this right now. It's so much more fun to be a fan of a team at a live sporting event where your defense is really good. I know the NFL is always pushing for higher scoring, but I'm telling you this right now. I think the NFL is much better off with the defenses. Take a look at Monday Night Football. What a great game that was, 22-21. What a great game that was. The Ravens, Bengals need a win. The Cowboys need a win. Bengals, Cowboys. That's a must-win game right there for two teams. And it's funny because Dallas doesn't want to go 1-2, and if Baltimore goes 0-3, hit the panic button. I didn't know this. I've been following up on ESPN. It was kind of funny. So what I do is I go to YouTube, and somebody on YouTube, I'm sorry, I think it was on YouTube, had a post. Jimmy G traded to the Dolphins, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is going to be a leadoff story." And turns out to be it's just baloney. By the way, if you do hot take stuff because you trying to get somebody to go to your channel, I just if I followed you before, I won't follow you since you do that hot take stuff. I don't have fun with that. So, oh man, Peyton. I'm assuming it's Peyton. Would you trade Calvin Ridley and Jerome Ford for Tony Pollard in fantasy PPR? God, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm assuming I'm leaning yes, but there's two things you have to keep in mind. Number one, I'm assuming you're set at receiver. I'm assuming Ridley's not a 1 or a 2. Okay. Number two, the reason why I'm leaning that way is because I think Ford's going to have a good game. All right. Ford's solid, but when Chubb comes back, Ford's going to go from a 20 touch guy to a 10 touch guy. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in the Tennessee offense at all. I have very, 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 very little faith in the Tennessee offense. And I'm drawing a blank on the other running back they got in Tennessee. He's a guy I like. But one thing about Pollard is he's much more likely to get that 20 touches going forward. I have no faith in. And by the way, I fully expect Will Levis to get benched sooner than later. I think, Mason Rudolph, I don't know how he looked in preseason. I don't know his injury situation. I just know I really liked Mason Rudolph coming out of college. I thought last year he was the best quarterback on the Steelers roster. I really, really, really believe that they're going to make a change. And once they make a change, I think Pollard could be that guy. It really benefits. Keep in mind, if Nick Chubb doesn't come back week 5, then you're probably going to hate me for saying yes. But I would make that move based on the fact that I'm hoping you have I'm hoping your receivers are good. And I'm also banking on Nick Chubb coming back and Jerome Ford going to under 10 touches a game. I'm answering yes, but there are a few ifs involved. And another thing is that I don't think Pollard is depending on who else you got, I wouldn't consider him. He's definitely not a 1. Ideally, he's a flex option. He's not running back 1 or 2 in your league. Tua is on IR. I popped over to ESPN when I saw that, and I don't see that yet on ESPN, but I'm going to take your word for it. And that's smart. That's smart. Slasher. I was looking through this because I wanted to make sure I was right. And I think I am. And I want to touch base on this because I questioned this immensely. You bring a pass first coach to the Philly offense, and let's go to 146 in the fourth quarter. You're up by 3. 146 left in the fourth quarter. All right. And you run that pass play, which worked earlier in the game. A lot of people are defending it, but I'm not going to be one of those people. Barkley did the right thing by saying it's his fault. it's not his fault, and I'll tell you why. It was the wrong play call. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles are better suited to be a run first team, not a pass first team. Who's your number one wide receiver? Was he playing? No, he wasn't. So on 3rd and 3 with the NFL's largest offensive line, I paid a lot of attention to Mekhi Becton. And one thing is Mekhi Becton, the first part of the game, I'm watching and I'm thinking to myself, this is a Pro Bowl caliber guard. Then I saw Atlanta run some stunts and he looked a little confused. So that's kind of how you he's not used to the position, but when he pulls, or you just have him stone the defensive tackle, he's phenomenal. And they kept on showing this over and over again, like the average offensive line for the Eagles is like 337. All right. You have a 235 pound running back. You have a quarterback who is excellent in getting that, 1 yard, that tush push. It's 3rd and 3. You're up by 3. The Falcons have no timeouts, and it's 146, and you throw the ball. And I questioned, is Kellen Moore the guy that's going to be the right fit for the Philadelphia Eagles? You don't throw the ball. I like the fact that Barkley's like, hey, he said all the right things. I think that he's pissed that they ran that play. Here's the drill. And I got the play-by-play pulled up. If they run the ball, the run play itself will probably take, and by the way, I wouldn't have done the tush push there. I would have gone old school I formation, Saquon Barkley, right up Mekhi Becton's butt. That's what I would have done. You take the guard who's about 360, 370. You take the guy who you can't move. You take the guy that when he pulls or drive blocks is phenomenal. You take Juergens and Mekhi Becton. You double team the defensive tackle. You pull the other guard. I'm drawing a blank on his name, and you just run Saquon Barkley right up Mekhi Becton's butt. Play lasts probably 4 or 5 seconds. Okay. They ran that play. It was 146. So what happened was actually, both teams called timeouts, but Atlanta called their final timeout at 146. So you run that play. Let's just say it's 5 seconds. You get down. You call a timeout. It's about 102 left. 102 left in the game. Then on 4th and 1, I would run the ball. I know you're up by 3 and it's risky. Then I run the ball because let me tell you something. It took 1 minute and 5 seconds for Atlanta to drive down the field. You paid attention that how I described it. You don't have 1:05 left. Does Vic Fangio deserve a little bit of blame? Maybe, but I didn't really have a problem with Philly's defense. One thing, I can't take credit for this. Nick Wright posted this on, I think it was X or Twitter. He says, Nick Sirianni reminds me of the guy at the blackjack table who gets that feeling that I should hit 12 against a 2. And that's how he plays. And then I heard something where Nick Sirianni didn't address the team. He goes, this is a player-led team. If that's true, and I don't know that that's true, but if it is, that's a mistake. This team is too talented. There is no way the Eagles should be 1-1. They have a big game against the Saints. And by the way, it's kind of funny because I brought up AJ Brown. That would be the guy, Mike Vrabel, who was who was public when the Titans traded AJ Brown that this was a terrible decision. That's the guy who should be coaching your Eagles team, and you shouldn't be throwing the ball on 3rd and 3 when the opponent doesn't have a timeout and there's less than 2 seconds left. Why? By the way, 4th and 4 inside the 10. Why are you going for it? Nick Sirianni. You play the Saints. If you go to 1 and 2, that hot seat after that collapse. So I feel for you, man. You are clearly the better team. That game against Saints is going to be a good one. I really, really, really feel for you. This is bad. I'm not seeing this yet, but I'm refreshing on ESPN. Okay, yep. Good move for Miami. Better for Tua. This I didn't see. Jalen Carter got benched for being late to a team meeting, and the whole defensive line collapsed last night. There were times that the defensive line played well. If Jalen Carter is being late to meetings, that is an issue. I didn't know about it. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, 2 Georgia Bulldogs on that defensive line that should be a strength on that team. I didn't think the defensive line played really bad, to tell you the truth. I really didn't think so. I kind of like the fact that you held them to 15. That, by the way, that's I really blame Sirianni in the offense, but more than likely that was a Kellen Moore call, and that's kind of been a staple of Kellen Moore, is that he's a pass first offensive coordinator, and you have a run first team. They have a lot of things they got to figure out, but going forward on 4th down early, there's a lot of problems, and I blame coaching, because it's definitely not talent on that team. I'm telling you right now, you get if Mike Vrabel was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, you win that game easy. Jeffrey Champion, what a cool name, man. If you was the Browns, would you give Jameis Winston some reps with the first team because Deshaun Watson can still get suspended? Absolutely, I would. He should be getting a few snaps, not a lot. Keep in mind, you usually want your first team quarterback to get the majority of snaps. What I'm seeing is, and I'm paying attention to the injury report quite a bit, because there's a good chance Cleveland's going to get 1 or 2 of their tackles healthy. They're at home against the Giants, a team I think is going to be terrible. I really don't like this game, but would I give Winston limited reps? Yeah, I would. Another thing is that I've always been a fan of Jameis Winston, and I've really been impressed. I was really impressed when he was with the Saints. I liked the way he conducted himself. I remember when he was in Tampa, he had some real maturity issues, and I'm telling you this right now. Like there's probably not 12 to there's probably not 12, somewhere between 12 to 15 quarterbacks in the NFL more athletic and a better arm than Jameis Winston. I mean, the athleticism, the talent, the arm strength, all of that's there. The issue is just mental, but I think he's happy being a backup quarterback. And I know that sounds silly, but being a backup quarterback in the NFL is a really good gig. I mean, you know, more than likely he's making, I don't know his salary exactly, but I know it's over $1 million a year. He doesn't have to deal with the pressure. He doesn't have to deal with the hits. And, I mean, the Deshaun Watson situation, I want to be very clear. I don't know how new you are to my show, because when the whole massage situation came out, I've been defending Deshaun Watson. I don't think it happened. If you didn't follow the whole situation, what happened was a lawyer, I'm assuming Saul Goodman, hopefully you get the reference, came up to Deshaun Watson, said, hey, listen, if you give this lady $100,000, six figures, so I'm going to say 100,000. I mean, it could be 100,000, it could be 999,000. She'll sign an NDA. This will all go away. And Deshaun Watson said no. Then the lawyer comes back and he says, now I got two people, and now you have to give both of them six figures. And if you do, this is all going to go away. We're not going to go public. And Deshaun Watson said no. Then the lawyer, went public, went to the DA, the district attorney. District attorney looked at it and said, I'm not going to do anything. I can't. So like the court of law, which by the way, the court of law favors women, not men. The district attorney looked at that and said, I'm not going to bother the police department. I'm not going to go forward with this. You don't have anything. So then he went to the media, to the press, and then he kept on getting more and more and more and more people. And here's the deal with that. The way the system of laws work, the people that are trying to get money from Deshaun Watson, there's no repercussions. There's really no repercussions. And people keep on saying, oh, Dan, there's so many people. It's got to be true. You got to believe it. Listen, if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Dan, you know what? Deshaun Watson, why don't you just say Deshaun Watson touched you? And I'd be like, I've never met Deshaun Watson. Well, if, you can get six figures. Well, what happens if I, just say no? Oh, well, nothing happens. Okay. Well, what happens if I get caught lying? What's going to happen? Well, nothing. Oh, okay. Well, why wouldn't I do it? So, I mean, I don't believe it. That's just me. If you think less of me, if I lose viewers, I lose subscribers. That's just how it is. Deshaun Watson's been on social media. Like he's got this like model girlfriend. But should Winston maybe get a few reps? Sure. I believe that. I mean, Deshaun Watson, since he's been with the Browns, first year, of course, 11 game suspension. Second year, missed half the season. Do I think that there's legitimacy to the case against Watson? No, I do not. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of flack for it, but I just don't see it. It doesn't make sense. If you go to the district attorney and the district attorney doesn't just looks at it and says, I'm not doing anything, I think you have some major holes in your case. I do believe in the American justice system. So, but if you have some more information on that, I'd love to hear it, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think the Browns just need to start Winston. Not yet, but I will say this: Jameis Winston's got all the talent in the world. I have to go back and watch that because I know he played. I didn't know that he was benched to start the game. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I know he played. I'd have to go back and watch that. If you're late to a meeting, and I've always been this, it's kind of funny. I work with this one guy, and he's a phenomenal worker, but he just shows up late. And I'm one of these people, if you show up late, it's a clear indicator that you just don't care. A lot. I remember. I don't know how old you are, Slasher, but I remember when Dominican Sue, he signed this massive contract with the Lions, and he just wasn't happy with the coaching staff. So he would purposefully wait outside the meeting room and show up late every day on purpose, just because he could. And he used to get fined, and he didn't care. He made enough money. He just did it just to do it. And I mean, this is a guy I think belongs in Canton. But I don't know the whole story. I don't know the whole story, but it's funny because I do work with this guy. Like he's phenomenal work. He just shows up late. And it's funny because like he doesn't even have a good reasons. Like, why are you late? But it's kind of the exception. But usually if you show up late, it just shows the lack of caring. I'm a little I didn't know that because I know he played. I didn't know he was benched though. Well, they did that this last off season with the coordinators, but I mean, if Sirianni, I don't like the way Sirianni. There's no logic that does he go for it? Does he not go for it? If he's not giving a speech after a loss like this, that would bother me. The way the team collapsed. I've always been a Vic Fangio fan. I like Kellen Moore, and I think Kellen Moore is a guy that might be an NFL head coach someday. But he's a pass first coach. I thought him in Philly was a little weird. Look! If the Eagles finish 8-9 or even 9-8 and don't make the playoffs, I think Sirianni has to go. I really do. Slasher so easily could have got here's the drill, and I have this pulled up. The Falcons call their final timeout inside of 2 minutes, 1:46. So you run the ball. A running play usually takes 4 to 5 seconds plus the 40 seconds it goes off the clock. You're down to about a minute. The Falcons drive to score the touchdown last 1 minute and 5 seconds. By the way the Falcons move the ball downfield, it may not sound like it, but I promise you it's a lot different when you have 139. 139 to go 70 yards is not a big deal. 1 minute is a big deal. It's more of a problem. Do you remember that very first play? I'm gonna it's a short pass middle to Kyle Pitts for 11 yards. They probably don't run that play if you got 1 minute. They probably don't run that play if you have 1 minute. And by the way, the next play was 20 seconds later. So and by the way, the next play was a 21-yard gain. But it's a big difference when you're running that play and you have 40 seconds left in the game, then you have 120. Big difference. Big difference. You run the ball with you run the ball, Saquon Barkley. Well, I tune in, I say Dan, and I tune in and here I say Dan go right up someone's butt. Barkley had 95 years. Here's the drill. You run the ball. It's 4th and 1. I think it was a good play call. Sure, it was a good play call. If it worked. By the way, if he catches it, he's pushed out of bounds. The clock does stop. I mean, you still take 3 kneel downs. But bottom line, you run the ball instead. And if you, by the way, listen, you run the ball instead, you are a lock to eat up 40 to 45 seconds. And on 4th and 1 with an offensive line, they played it over and over again. I think it was like 337.8. Anyway, the heaviest offensive line in the NFL on 4th and 1 to win the game. First drive of the game, you should have took the 3. I also didn't like how the offense got bogged down inside the red zone. Shouldn't have happened that many times. Not happy with the coaching staff. That the Eagles, and by the way, if you go to my NFC East preview video, there's probably not a more talented team in the NFL than the Eagles. So, yeah, he had 95 yards rushing the ball. And one thing I will say, I'm not a fan. The one thing I can't stand about Saquon Barkley's game that drives me nuts is here's a dude who's he set like almost every single weightlifting record at Penn State, but he's never been a guy that just can put his head down and run between the tackles and just get that 1 yard. He doesn't run that way. It's really frustrating. I agree completely with early in the game, and they're showing, the analytics say go for it. No, you take 3. Yeah, you have a good defense. You're at home on Monday night. You take 3. You lean on that run game. So. Yeah, I agree. Sizu, what's up, brother? Bryce Huff has 0 pressures for 2 games. He kind of sucks. It's kind of funny because I remember he barely played in New York, and I was like, God, this guy's talented. I mean, when he does play, he's really good. Why? What's going on? Maybe it looks like there was a reason why the Jets traded for Hassan Reddick and they drafted Will McDonald. Will McDonald had a good game. I was expecting a little more on Nolan Smith. It was funny. Somebody was talking about Keon White, and Eagles fans like, man, I really wish we had got Keon White instead. And I responded. I said, I think you'll like Nolan Smith better. And he goes, no, Keon White was better pass rusher. And I was like, really? Really? Coming out of college, he wasn't. I mean, one thing I've realized is that you can't argue with people over the internet. Somebody says somebody's better than another player, I'm not going to go there. Oh yeah. Gardner Minshew is better than Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that dude. You're not going to win that. But yeah, Bryce Huff hasn't panned out. I mean, you saw the athleticism when he played with the Jets. Like, I thought he was pretty good. I don't know why things aren't working out. The talent's there. I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer. Absolutely. So what I've been doing is this is my first time doing Afternoon Delights, a brand new thing for me. What I've been planning on the show. First of all, the way the show works, all questions are answered, anything goes. If you have a question, I have an answer. That's kind of what I built the show around, because I want to talk football, 32 fan bases. And this year I've made a big decision that I want to help people with their fantasy football. I want to help you win your league. Absolutely dive away. When I'm like the schedule, the regimented schedule is Monday's going to be a review. Tuesday's going to be a preview. Wednesday and Thursday is going to be a combo of fantasy football and I want to sprinkle in a little bit of college. Originally, I was going to have a Denver Gator. He was going to come on Wednesdays, talk college football. He said, "Man, I'm hooking up all these chicks, and I'm partying like a rock star. I can't do that." However, it's been an unexpected treat that going forward, I'll have KTS. That's Keaton Talk Sports joining me on Mondays, and that looks like it's going to be a regular thing. But fire away. Oh, absolutely, Perry. Mike Vrabel should be the number one guy to hire this coaching season. Seriously, New York Giants, Panthers, Philly. The last I heard, he was hanging out in Cleveland's coaching staff. By the way, if things don't work out in Cleveland, Mike Vrabel would be the guy I would go to. That would just be, that I think that would work perfect. I think Tennessee's going to regret letting him go. But yeah. Yeah, Vrabel, I think, will be a head coach in 2025. I'm waiting to see what happens in Carolina. I think Carolina really – I really believe Carolina is trying not to just bring in a new head coach every year. The Giants are going to replace Dable. It's just a matter of time. I could see Eberflus being a head coaching loss, head guy. I could see Chicago cleaning house. I mean, Sirianni, this is a bad loss. I think you have to put him. I think that seat's getting a little warm. The Mike McCarthy seat is getting warm. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, look, there's last year there's 8. Usually there's at least 4. So Nolan Smith, yeah. Nolan Smith's a guy that when the Eagles got him at 30, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. And part of the reason he lasted that long was an injury issue. But I was like, once he gets on the field, he's going to be really, really, really good. I'm a huge Nolan Smith guy. And, it's a shame Bryce Huff's not playing better. That the move with Hassan Reddick looks genius. Now, keep in mind, the Jets sign him, and he ends up being, a 15-sack guy with 15 games left. And, yeah, so. But, yeah, I'm a huge Nolan Smith guy. I predicted before the season he'd be a double-digit sack guy, and I think he will be. I mean, look, it's a long year, but that's a tough loss, man. I really feel for you. I mean, as a football fan, great game, fun game. That Falcons-Chiefs game on Sunday night becomes very, very entertaining. Eagles Saints, that's also becomes a very entertaining game. That would have been an entertaining game. Both teams are 2-0. I think it adds a little bit more pressure now as more of a must-win game. For the Saints, or I'm sorry, for the Eagles. I mean, and it's in New Orleans, right? I'm pretty sure it is. I should have that memorized. I'm pretty sure it's in New Orleans. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it hasn't worked out so far. It hasn't worked out. Big surprise. Seriously. You could say hindsight, but when they drafted Baker overall, he was showing some promise. And I understand why, because Baker wanted the Mahomes type of money, and the Browns were like, yeah, you're not really Patrick Mahomes. You're in that lower tier. They lowballed him. He was mad. He's like, well, look, I'm going to prove to you that I'm worthy of the Mahomes level. Got hurt. Didn't have a good performance. And I get the logic behind it. They overpaid in money. They overpaid in draft compensation. I mean, he wasn't going to play in Houston again. there's a lot of speculation that the owner of the Texans was behind this. I don't believe any of that, but I mean, the Houston Texans are a clear-cut winner. I mean, they got C.J. Stroud, who, I mean, I seriously think that C.J. Stroud, I can make an argument, it's top 5, easily top 10. But yeah, I can see that. But I mean, you have to eat a lot of money. And here's the thing. I mean, the one thing I'm going to point out is that game, the last game of the season where he beat the Ravens, that was one of the best games I've ever seen any quarterback play. I want to see what he does with the starting tackles back and Nick Chubb, because you could be seeing something really good going forward. But I could see the Browns having some buyer's remorse. Jeffrey says, I love Jameis Winston. I think he's more of a leader than Deshaun Watson. He's more of a leader than Deshaun Watson is. He's got the pregame speeches. He's always on the sideline trying to fire people up. Deshaun Watson doesn't do that. I will say this, is that go back to when he was with Houston and he was an MVP caliber quarterback, he was more that way. I understand. From what I'm hearing is that behind the scenes he does a lot more, but I give a lot of credit to Jameis Winston, because I mean, your number one pick in the draft, you had a 5,000-yard season, then you get benched, and I've seen that happen to a lot of starting quarterbacks. They get down, and Winston doesn't. I think Winston's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. I also think that he could start for probably a dozen NFL teams and be pretty good. There is a reason why. So for those of you who don't know, Tyler Huntley was brought in as a free agent. They wanted him to compete with Winston. Winston clearly won that backup battle. Tyler Huntley got cut, signed with Baltimore's practice squad. Now he's with Miami. There's reasons for this. I mean, Winston's an excellent backup. We will watch this situation. We will watch this situation. Funk's right, man. Jameis is a fun watch. He could throw for 405 touchdowns, or he could throw for 100 yards and 5 interceptions. Either way, it's a fun watch. He is entertaining. I loved him at Florida State. I mean, he was a lot of fun at Florida State. By the way, that 5,000-yard season, that's legitimate. I mean, there's only a handful of quarterbacks in the league that threw for 5,000 yards in a season. Jameis Winston's one of them. I mean, Jameis Winston, it's kind of funny because you know what he is. He's a gunslinger, but people don't call him a gunslinger, but that's the definition of a gunslinger. He's a big dude. He's got a big arm. And the thing is that I kind of like it, is that he throws a pick and he just doesn't care. I mean, Brett Favre did that. I mean, I'm not really comparing the two, but Brett Favre didn't throw for 5,000 this season. Winston did. I like Jameis Winston. What can I say? I remember watching the Hard Knocks in Tampa Bay, and I'm like, oh, crap, you're not an NFL quarterback. I watch him now, and I'm like, God, take a look at Geno Smith. You remember that incident? His own teammate broke his jaw. I'm not advocating violence, but kind of sounded like he deserved it. Really set his career on a downward path. Got a second chance and did the most with it in Seattle. This could be the situation with Jameis Winston in Cleveland, which by the way, the offense that they want to run, which is a run-heavy offense, that would work with Winston because you can go downfield, and that's kind of the offense I think they want to. So I'm drawing a blank on the Browns coach. I should know this. Anyway, he won Coach of the Year last year. He's an offensive guy who wants to run a West Coast type of offense. They want to run the ball. They want a lot of high percentage passes, but that offense works best when you have the ability to go downfield. Deshaun Watson's always been a dude, go all the way back to Clemson, spread it out, ding, 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 ding. And he also is an excellent runner. He's a really athletic dude, but he can go back there and pick you apart. But in a run-first offense, that's something he's never done. He didn't do it at Clemson, didn't do it at Houston. That game he had, go back and watch that game against Baltimore where he goes into Baltimore and it was like 300 yards passing, almost 100 yards rushing. Just that Ravens defense was amazing last year, just ripped them apart. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen anybody do. That's when he's at his best. Jameis Winston's a dude who I think can do a lot more of that offense. I'm trying to blank on that coach's name. Yeah, the burden of proof is more difficult in a criminal versus a civil, and this is why I'm not because here's the drill. There's to ask for money in a civil suit, there's no repercussions at all. And hopefully whoever brought that question up got the Better Call Saul reference. But like you can go back, you can look it up on the ESPN. You have to do some digging, but basically the lawyer came out and it's like it's documented. Hey, we'll sign an NDA, but you got to pay. And I mean, think about this, if let's say a crime was committed, what's the first thing you do? Well, you go to police. You don't go to a lawyer and go, well, if I get X amount of money, I'll just sign whatever. Usually it doesn't work that way. That's why. But what are the repercussions about going after somebody in a civil lawsuit? There's no repercussions. If you lie about it, are you going to jail? No. I think I'm losing people. people don't like that, but I'm just telling you what I think. Yeah, he played, but he barely played. We played the second-year guy, Thomas Booker, and he was actually pretty good in the run, but he didn't play much either. It was mostly Milton Williams and Jordan Davis. Slash, I'll take your word for it because I do remember Jordan Davis out there multiple times, and I'm a big fan of his game. But if that's the case, then because I do remember seeing Thomas Booker and Milton Williams out there, and I'm a huge Jordan Davis fan. I love Jordan Davis. The thing is, it's kind of funny is that I mean, the way the Eagles are built, like honestly, they're using more even fronts when they're built to be kind of an odd front defense. But I really think that as the season goes on, by the way, Zach Bond is playing lights out, and I love the fact that you use him inside because really he was at the Saints. He was a 3-4 outside linebacker, pseudo defensive end, and you move him inside. I love the way he's playing. I have no idea why. I know you signed Devin White. I have to take a look at why he's not playing. I'm assuming he's injured. This is interesting. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the answer. Is the answer for the quarterback for the Eagles? That's interesting. I think he's fine as the quarterback, but one thing I don't like is Kellen Moore. Everywhere he's gone, he's always been a pass-first coach. And that works in the NFL, by the way. I mean, take a look at Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City is a pass-first team. Jalen Hurts, like what makes Jalen Hurts a really, really good player is his ability to run the ball. I don't want Jalen Hurts to go back 50 times a game and go ding, 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 ding. He's not that dude. Am I saying he's a bad quarterback? No, I'm not saying that. I mean, but his strength's more running the ball, the tush push, which is fantastic. And one thing is that I'm going to be very clear, like Jalen Hurts, like, can throw the ball. Like, I'm not saying he's the liability passing the ball. He's just not that guy you want to go back in the pocket and just pick you apart. His versatility. I also love his leadership. I love his attitude. There's a lot of things about Jalen Hurts I like. I think he's fine. I do question Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. And look, you have this massive offensive line on 3rd and 3. Why are you throwing the ball? I know Slasher, and Eagles fans, like, I don't have a problem with it, but I do. So. Yeah, I thought Hurts played pretty well. I'm drawing a blank on that safety's name, but they signed Jeffrey Simmons, who is a really Jesse Bates. So it's Jeffrey Simmons and Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates was a huge free agent signing from the Bengals. As a Chiefs fan, I absolutely loved it. He's a really good player. He made a great play. That Falcons secondary is really good. The Falcons overall, the only issue the Falcons have is they don't have a pass rush. I knew Judon had a sack, and he's a pretty good player. But I mean, the Falcons, that secondary is loaded. Now you got Jeffrey Simmons in there. Now keep in mind he signed just a few weeks before the season started. But once he gets integrated into the defense, matter of fact, that Chiefs-Falcons game is going to be a good one. But by the way, you also don't have your number one guy in AJ Brown. You traded for Jamar Dotson, which I like. I like that trade, but how integrated is he into this new offense? I mean, one thing you have to understand is that when you have an offense already in play and you have your team that's used to it, you can integrate a player late and it's a lot easier. But when you have a brand new offensive coordinator, then you have some new pieces that come in, it's really, really difficult. Trying to force the ball to Devontae Smith, I have no problem with that whatsoever. No problem with that whatsoever. I mean, let's see, I got this pulled up. I mean, you have the ball at you're trying to get, okay, so here's the drill. 34 seconds left. You get the ball at the 35. So you got, if I remember right, it's 2 timeouts, maybe it's 1. Dallas Goedert for 13 yards, you're at the 43. You call timeout. Okay, so you call timeout number 2, so you had 1 left. 27 seconds left. You got to get about 20, 25 yards. Trying to force it to your number one guy. I don't have a problem with that. And by the way, Devontae Smith's an excellent receiver. Is he AJ Brown? No. I mean, there's I'm gonna level with you. There's not 10 receivers in the league better than AJ Brown. Him not playing is a big deal. I don't have a problem with the interception. Yeah, it would have been great if 34 seconds left. You can drive down to get the win, but I mean, there's only a handful of quarterbacks that are going to do that. Shouldn't have been in that position. I thought Hurts played pretty well. I don't have the numbers on him, but oh my God, look at this. I have the great one. The B and the Back Talk brothers. The talent. Gooch! in the chat. Man, as we get into the end of hour number one, we get Gooch in the chat. What a great first hour. I hope the NFL forces the clowns to pay every penny of the Watson contract. Cousins is above average at best. Cousins is not good in the playoffs. I think Cousins is solid. Yeah. I got Corey, a.k.a. the Red Sea. This will be the final comment before we go to a quick commercial break to end hour number one. What a great first hour. What a great comment by Corey, a.k.a. the Red Sea. It would seem Nick Sirianni has the same problem Pete Carroll had in the Super Bowl. Run the damn ball. Yeah, I mean, that's really what I would have done. I really think that's the difference between winning and losing. That's just my opinion. We are going to take a very, very quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with hour number two on Afternoon Delight. As Afternoon Delight takes a commercial break, we remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate. The video in the description below shows how easy and fast it is to collect your bonus. Click on the link in the description below and start winning today. A friendly reminder that my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is being released tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you watch it. If you watch it twice, today's guest, Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports, will pay you $100. Well, that isn't true, but the video will be awesome. Make sure you check it out. Use the notification icon to make sure that you comment first. The first person to comment wins $1 million. Well, that isn't true, but it is true that it's going to be a great video and it's being released tomorrow. Oh man, I messed up. I ran the wrong commercial. I'm sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I ran the wrong commercial. I dropped the ball here. Sorry about that, guys. Jeffrey points out that when he was on the Saints, Winston threw 14 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. You're right. I was a little surprised that when Sean Payton took over in Denver that he didn't try to get Jameis Winston. I was a little surprised. Didn't work out that way. I don't know why, but yeah. Dan Campbell needs a money. I get that. Nick really. If Johnson or Slowick wants to leave their respective teams after the season, they're my two top targets for a head coach. I'll be honest. If I was you, Slasher, I would really want Mike Vrabel. I would really want Mike Vrabel. That would be the guy, I think. But either one of those guys. Slowick is the Texans' offensive coordinator. Johnson, of course, is the Lions' OC. So there's going to be some good options here. But the guy right now at the top of everybody's list is the Saints' offensive coordinator. I literally just drew a blank on his name. Sirianni is one of the big problems. He's not the only problem. I got another fantasy football question. This is from my buddy. I have Moore and Olave starting and Ridley on the bench. Do you think I should stop? Do you think I should swap? No, I don't. DJ Moore is number one. Keenan Allen's banged up. Romo Duze's banged up. So you got DJ Moore. He's the number one dude. I think that Williams is showing improvement, but the other two guys are out, and for whatever reason, I'm not really a fan of the way that they're running that offense and they're struggling. But I'm a big fan of Chris Olave. He hasn't scored yet. He's actually, here's the drill. Rashid Shaheed is now the number one guy, but Olave is the number one guy. Also, I have no confidence that Tennessee is doing anything offensively. So I would not make a move with those three. I mean, I think you got to start Moore and you got to start Olave in my opinion. But that's what I would do. I have no faith in Tennessee's offense. Jason, man, I haven't seen you in a while. What's up, brother? Man, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining Afternoon Delight. I'm behind on comments. What are your thoughts on Malik Willis playing his first game with the Packers? I really liked. I was really impressed. I was predicting a Colts win. There was a play where the center threw up on the football and snapped it back to him. It was a pass play, and Malik Willis just ran. And the coach was like, what happened? I called a passing play, do not know what's going on. He goes, yeah, center threw up on the ball. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's a first. Played really well. Really, by the way, that's the difference between like an offensive-minded head coach and a defensive-minded head coach. You could see that Malik Willis is a little more prepared. Didn't ask him to do much, won't ask him to do much, but I really like what they're doing. I think Malik Willis kind of like I don't think he's ready to be like, I think if you're an NFL team, you're like, oh man, let's get Malik Willis to be our starting quarterback. No, but I think that if he's smart, he kind of just hangs out in Green Bay for a while because it sounds like they really know what to do with him. Is there a chance that maybe he's ready down the line to be a starter? We'll have to wait and see. But I was impressed. Funk says, Jeffrey, there's a thing called a law of averages. Look at golf right now. People are ranting and raving. He wasn't throwing picks anymore. Now he's throwing 3-1 TDs. Yeah, there's a law of averages. Yeah, I get that. And he was referring to Jameis Winston, How about them Vikings? What big win. Big win. And there's a soundbite that Purdy went up to Flores after a game. He goes, man, that defense is awesome or something like that. I forget the exact quote, but the defense that they're building a really nice defense in Minnesota. Keep in mind their best player, Daniel Hunter's now with the Texans. And what they're doing in Minnesota is pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. And for 2 years in a row, you've beaten San Francisco at home. That's got to be something. I mean, that's one of the better teams in the NFC. You could argue the best team in the NFC last year, one of the better teams this year. That whole NFC North is getting entertaining. It's entertaining. The Packers are smart to ask them not to lose the game. Yeah, exactly. And you keep him. Remember, he got traded late in preseason. He doesn't know the whole offense. He's not familiar with everybody. He's getting a limited amount of reps with Jordan Love there. So yeah, I thought that the way they used him was smart. I think having him run a limited number of plays, let him use what he does well. He's got a ton of athleticism. He's got a ton of talent. He just doesn't, I didn't like the way they handled his situation there in Tennessee. I liked the way that they handled him so far in Green Bay. And I think, Green Bay, if they're smart, keep them there as long as you can. If I'm an NFL team, I'm not watching that game and going, hey man, Malik Willis can be our starting quarterback. But if I'm Green Bay, I'm looking at that and going, can we keep him here for a second contract? Because remember, he's a 3rd round pick. If I'm correct, this is year number 3, so I think you keep him for next year. And I would try to keep him around for a while. You may be able to keep him relatively cheap. And by the way, like I've been to Green Bay. I understand that some people may not like it. It's Green Bay, Wisconsin's not for everybody. I personally like it. I could get it. Some people listen. If you're a fan of like New York, if you're a fan of Dallas, you're a fan of LA, maybe staying in Green Bay is not for you. I love it. Go anywhere else during the winter is the coldest place on planet Earth. It sucks, but like spring, summer, fall, it's beautiful. So, Hatter's House 710. Go Lions. Ben Johnson Golf. NCDC needs to get their stuff. Yeah. Hey, this is a real underrated game. Real underrated game. Lions Cardinals. Two 1-1 teams that look pretty good. And I do think the Lions look good. But you just didn't win the game. You got some good things going on there in Detroit, but you also have some good things going on in Arizona. It's in the desert. It's gonna be a fun game, man. My hair looks fantastic. I'm glad. Aiden's World is, by the way, if you're wondering, he is flirting with me. Nothing wrong with that. I don't do that, but it's like, hey, listen, everybody, everybody's welcome here. Sean Payton should be on the hot seat. I think he's an overrated coach. I knew Sean Payton and Russell Wilson wasn't going to work. I knew that instantly. I didn't like the fit, but as a Chiefs fan, I loved it because I knew it wasn't going to work. It actually worked better than I thought, and that's getting rid of Russell Wilson and eating all that money. Because Russell Wilson was brought in before Sean Payton. By the way, I don't know the numbers. They gave Sean Payton an arm and a leg. So they're letting Sean Payton kind of get their guy in Bo Nix. Even if Denver wins like 2 or 3 games, and by the way, I kind of like what I'm seeing out of Denver so far, because I expect Denver turned around. I predict they would hover around 500. They may be a double-digit loss team. As long as they're showing a little bit of improvement, he's going to stay. And they will. I don't think it's that. I really don't think it's that bad. If I'm being really honest with you, I really don't think it's that bad. So I really think that everything's going to be okay. So, all right. And I'm sorry. I am really, really behind on comments. Rumors are coming out. Yeah, that was going on for a while. So I predicted. I have proof. You can go back to my 2023 draft, and for my first 4 mock drafts, I said Frank Reich's going to take C.J. Stroud, and I think that Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud, but the Panthers owner, and this has been coming out before he was even chosen. Panthers owner really wanted that, so yeah, that's why you have a new head coach. That's why you have a new general manager. A lot of people think that Dan Morgan, a former player, was brought in just because the owner is going to speak through Dan Morgan. I don't think so. I think that they realized that they made some mistakes. And by the way, like this could be a situation where Carolina's saying, hey, look, we're going to just get rid of him and move on. And I can see that happening. I think the offense is going to look significantly better under Andy Dalton. Do I think they beat the Raiders? No, but I think it's going to be a closer game than people think, especially out here in Vegas. I'm here in Vegas. They are over the moon, and they should be excited, but hopefully they're not. Hopefully you realize they still got some room to improve. So. How about Williams on the Bears doing bad? Thought he was going to be better than that. I don't like the way they're number one. It looks like they're throwing the full playbook at him. He doesn't really look comfortable. He's trying to do the same things they did USC, trying to scramble around, realizing he can't do it. It's first time in his life. He's not the best athlete on the field. And you could tell he's not used to it. He doesn't look comfortable. I don't like the fact they're not running the ball more. They're not successful running the ball either. I don't think I thought he was going to be a bust. And then I was watching in Hard Knocks, and I was kind of liking the fact that his teammates genuinely seemed drawn to him, which I saw at both Oklahoma and USC. And I was watching him in preseason. I'm like, maybe but yeah. I mean, we need to look at more than just 2 games. But he's struggling. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have struggled as rookies and went on to great careers. I remember Troy Aikman looked awful as a rookie. He's in the Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning threw more interceptions than like any other rookie quarterback ever, and he turned out okay. I think John Elway, I think he was like 1-8 in his first couple of starts or something like that, and he did okay. I don't like the way I seriously think that if that defense is so good that if the Bears offense was average, that's a 100% a playoff team. If the Bears have double-digit losses, I could see everybody getting canned, and Chicago just getting new general manager, coach, everything. But they got a. I think what they really need to do is just become more of a run-oriented team. You picked up DeAndre Swift. Keep in mind, I've always had a huge man crush on DeAndre Swift. Love that dude. So, if we lose the Cards of crap, oh yeah. And by the way, that's going to be a really, 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 really good game. Oh God, this is a good one. Guys, what do you think? 10-man full PPR. Should I start Kittle or Bowers at tight end? Wow, that's a good one because you have two tight ends that the one thing I will tell you is that you have potential to have you're in a good situation first off because you have 2 tight end number ones. All right. The issue I'm looking at with San Francisco is Deebo Samuel's going to be out. Christian McCaffrey's going to be out. Brandon Ayuk missed almost all of preseason. I should know the numbers, but I don't know what he did last week. Let me look that up real fast here because I should know this. I'm really sorry I don't know his stats off the top of my head. George Kittle, 7 receptions, 76 yards and a touchdown. Okay, yeah, I thought he had a good game. I was pretty sure about that. So here's the drill here. The Raiders are playing against a bad defense in Carolina. And that defense is terrible. Their best player out for the whole year. They're at home. God. And then you also have this terrible team in the Rams. However, it's a division game. It's on the road. I'm going to level with you, man. There's not a wrong answer here. There really isn't. I'm going to give you kind of a crazy answer because I like the matchup. And I really like the matchup. And I'm going to give you kind of a surprise. I might go Bowers. I'll tell you why is that Devontae Adams ended up, I think, 9 catches, 112 and a touchdown. I may have the numbers wrong. Full disclosure, you can't go wrong either way. However, if I'm Carolina, what I'm doing defensively is you have a pretty good corner in J.C. Horn. I still think they should have took Patrick Surtain instead, but that's another story. I really think that they're just going to walk around with Adams, maybe try to bracket him. I think Bowers is going to have a good game. I just got a feeling he's going to have a good game. He's at home, a bad defense. I know the Rams look terrible. The Rams will play the 49ers tougher than they played the Cardinals. I also could see them really going out of their way to make sure Bauer or to make sure Kittle doesn't beat them. And maybe they have to rely on a running back, make Purdy throw to somebody else. You don't have a problem though. You got two really, really, really good tight ends, and I think you could go either way and you'll be just fine. I would Bowers by hair, only because I have no faith in the Carolina Panthers defense. If you watch my picks video, I think that this Raiders Panthers game is going to be a lot closer than people think, because I think Andy Dalton's going to really elevate the Panthers offense, which I think will energize the team. I think the Raiders will be able to exploit the Panthers defense enough so that they get the win. But I think it's going to be I think if you're a Raiders fan and you think that you're going to win this game by double digits, you're going to be very disappointed. I have a feeling Bowers is due for a slightly better game. You're not wrong either way. Very long-winded explanation. Perry, if you lose to us, you got some issues. You guys match up perfectly to make our life hell on Sunday. You know, it's funny because I actually I can see that in some aspects. In other aspects, I can't wait to see Marvin Harrison Jr. Going one-on-one with Teron Arnold. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has an advantage there. Kyler Murray against that defense is going to be fun. Goff going against, I think, kind of an underrated Cardinals defense is interesting. This is a very fun game. There's a lot of fun games in here. But yeah, this is a fun game. This is a very fun game. By the way, though, Lions are a 3-point favorite, should be a 3-point favorite. If the Lions won against the Bucks and we're going in this game 2-0, I would have a little pause. One thing about the Lions, though, is that I like the ability of them to bounce back. But, yeah. I can run the – very strong today. I think Kyler Murray could have a good game. This is a great question. Aiden's World. White, Singletary, Charbonnet flex week 3. It's funny. I have a huge man crush on Rachaad White, and I could see him. Some people think that they're phasing him out for Bucky Irvin. I could see him having a good game. Denver's defense is not bad, but I kind of like Rachaad White. I think he could have a big game. Singletary against a Browns defense that I could just see that I could see Singletary just having a terrible game. If Kenneth Walker is out, I might want to put Charbonnet in there, but only if Kenneth Walker is out. Miami comes to Seattle, and I think Miami is I don't have faith in their defense, which by the way hasn't played bad at all. The defense has played pretty good. I keep an eye right now today. I would pencil in White. If Kenneth Walker is a full go with White. If Kenneth Walker is out, limited, questionable, then go with Charbonnet. But right now today, go with Rachaad White. I believe Kenneth Walker will be back. I kind of want to follow that situation a little more closely. I know this guy, so I will run into him. So I'll keep an eye out on this for you. And also, I appreciate you chiming in. But I think Rachaad White. Some people are telling me Bucky Irvin because he is getting some touches, and I like the 1-2 punch. But I think Rachaad White's due for a really good game. Yeah, I think he is too, and I like the fact that they're going to move him around. But this is a really, really, really good game. This is a really good game. So I'm here in Vegas, and I haven't signed up for the Sunday ticket yet. So I know I'm going to watch Carolina in Vegas because that's a game that they're going to have on. But if I had the Sunday ticket, I would flip back and forth between Detroit, Arizona, and Baltimore, Dallas. Yeah. I think you guys double team Hutchinson. There's no pass rusher after Hutchinson. Well, the problem is you have a backup right tackle who's really, 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 really struggling. Even if we were able to move on your defense, our defense isn't stopping a damn thing. You guys, I hope we can stop Murray. Harrison just went off last game, and then there's McBride. By the way, I'm a huge McBride fan. I think this is a game we need to win. We have no easy games this season. We just need to bring our A game. Yeah. This game is either going to be a rout for the Lions or it's going to be a complete shootout. I'm gonna level with you. I watch. Please watch my video. But it's funny because I think it is going to be an in between. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be lower scoring than you think. I really do. I really do. Our defense is too bad. Goff is going to have all day to throw on us. It's funny because I really thought that I really did. I really thought that he was going to do that against Tampa Bay, and he didn't. I got Denver Gator in the house. What's up, Denver Gator? Would you rather have Bo Nix or Graham Mertz? Is Mertz the? Oh my God, this is awesome. Is Mertz the? He's the Nebraska quarterback? Is that right? He's the. If I'm correct, he's the Nebraska quarterback. Let me just pull him up. So by the way, if Graham Mertz, and I'm like pretty sure that's who he is. Oh wait, he's the Florida quarterback. Okay, I thought you were talking about the Nebraska quarterback. He's the Florida quarterback. What a great question. Hurts is a better Lamar. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're referring to Kyler Murray. You run the ball to wear down the other team's defense and keep your defense fresh. That's what I really would like to see. This is awesome. Is Florida even a school's top recruit? Wouldn't want to go there anymore. It's funny because we keep on. I've been saying this to Denver Gator ever since they hired. I forget his name. That's how forgettable he is, Denver Gator. Is that nobody can even. I forgot his name already. Bill Napier, Will Napier, whatever. If you're the University of Florida, you need a big name. You need a big name head coach. Be a big name. Do you think the Bengals defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo gets a head coaching job? If I was an AFC team and I needed a head coach, and let's look at some of the teams that could be looking at head coaches. I mean, let's take a look at the Jets. I mean, if you want to get to, and keep in mind the Jets are just trying to get to the playoffs, but you're just trying to get to the playoffs. Look at Jacksonville, same type of situation. I think Lou Anarumo would be a fantastic fit in Jacksonville. I think Tennessee's. It looks like it's a disaster early on, but you never know. It's early, and I'll throw out a dark horse. Indianapolis. Gus Bradley's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. 400. It's like 470. It's 473 yards rushing in 2 games. if I'm an AFC team, I would really, really consider it. I thought a couple of years ago he was a lock. I don't know. Go Vikings. Chiefs, man, I'm gonna tell you something. I mean, as somebody that does Chiefs play by play, I mean, I feel like it, made my hair fall out watching the Chiefs play. I mean, both games you have a toenail and a 50-some yard field goal. I mean, can Sunday just be one of these blowouts where I don't have to lose hair or anything? Yeah, I mean, can I just get a game that I can just kind of relax during the fourth quarter? I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, I mean, the toenail and 50-some yard field goal to end the game. I mean, I remember the playoff game against Miami. I watched Tua take the field. I'm like, yeah, we got this. Nothing against Tua. I mean, I'm not insulting the guy, but I watched him try to just I watched him just as soon as I saw him in that negative 20-degree weather, I was like, yeah, it's over. Can I get one of those, please? Dan's hair looks so good it doesn't even show up on the stream. My hair is looking fantastic today. The Vikings are a surprise so far. Sam Darnold's playing solid. The question is, can Sam Darnold keep it? Is the real question. I really am pulling for Sam Darnold. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't give a grade per se when it comes to players coming out. I don't have like this player's an 86 and this one's an 83, but just coming out of college, I like Darnold more than I liked McCarthy. Just as pure college prospects. One thing about Sam Darnold, he was a redshirt sophomore, and I remember he went to the Jets. He had Todd Bowles, a defensive-minded coach. He had no weapons, a weak offensive line, didn't really have a good head coach or offensive coordinator supporting him. Then, on national TV, they got him saying, man, I'm seeing ghosts out there to a Bill Belichick defense. New York's a tough media market. Minnesota's a different situation completely. You have a good offensive head coach, a very favorable media market. You have, even with Jordan Addison out, you got Justin Jefferson. I mean, that 97-yard touchdown. I mean, how many receivers do that? Seriously. I mean, and then, you have a really good offensive line there in Minnesota, one of the better offensive lines, not elite, but really good. One definitely top 15, where you want to put him at. We can kind of argue that. Aaron Jones, decent guy. By the way, you're going to get a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. You're going to get Jordan Addison back. But you have, not only do you have also a really good offensive-minded head coach, you have a defense that's playing really, really well. You have a defense that's playing really, really well. Now, I talked about this before. It's kind of funny. I've never really spent a lot of time in Minnesota, but I've been to Green Bay a couple times. I know it's cold, so if you're a kid from Southern Cal, maybe playing in Minnesota is not your thing. But everybody's basically said the same thing that I've talked to. It's like, it's a beautiful place. People are friendly. The Vikings fans are fantastic. Every time the Vikings have come to Arrowhead, fans, Vikings are one of those fan bases that you don't think of when you think of traveling fan bases, but they travel really, really well, and they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. They really are. Is he going to play good enough to replace J.J. McCarthy? That's a good question. There's not an answer either. That's the thing. You can't go into this season and go, you know what? If he does 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, he's going to start, and McCarthy would be his backup. There's not that answer. Sam Darnold's on a 1-year deal. Is there a team? I don't think he's going back to Carolina. Remember, Carolina gave New York a second and a fifth. He goes there. He catches mono like at the beginning of the season. I've been watching football a long time. I can think of only one other player who's caught mono at the beginning of the season and had to miss a couple weeks, and it's Sam Darnold. That's not his fault. You caught mono. I remember I got mono in high school. It was weird. Like my neck started swelling up, and next thing I know, I'm exhausted. There's really nothing you can do. It was the weirdest thing. But the Matt Rule, he's now in Nebraska. I think it's very clear that he wasn't cut out, but he also didn't buy into Sam Darnold. Like they traded for him, he got there, and it's like, yeah, I don't really want it. Like you could tell there's an immediate disconnect between Matt Rule and Sam Darnold. Seriously, I was told, somebody told me that when Sam Darnold was in San Francisco that he was doing everything Brock Purdy was doing, but there was a 0% chance that he was going to replace him. But I think that learning experience really, really benefited him. If I'm the Vikings, I would try to do the same thing the Raiders did with Gardner Minshew. Tried to give him that 2-year. You're going to have to give him more than $25 million, but I would try to give him like a 2-year. I would say, hey, look, would you take a 2-year, $35 million deal, which is kind of a low ball number, but like, look, listen, you have a chance to make the playoffs because you're young enough. We can go ahead, because you're young enough, that next contract could be that massive contract. You could still get that $50 million contract. Plus, I would put in the contract that after year 1, we can trade you to the team of your choice. We'll put a no trade clause in there. That way you can veto if, we send you, to a team you don't want to go to. That's what I would do. That's if that's only if he plays well. If he falls apart down the stretch, which we've seen before. We've seen quarterbacks that played good for a couple weeks and then, in the middle of the season, you figure out deficiencies. Maybe a player on the offensive line gets hurt. I don't know for a fact if Jordan Addison's coming back next week or not. I know Justin Jefferson got hurt. I think he's still going to play. So, we still got a long way to go, but if he plays well, if I'm Minnesota, I tried to give him a 2-year deal, but make it a good 2-year deal, make it a 2-year deal that's worth him staying there. Gardner Minshew got a 2-year, $25 million deal from the Raiders. And that's kind of what I would kind of blueprint myself. And I would try to sell Sam Darnold that, look, if you play well 2 years in a row, you can get that big $50 million deal. Or I think Baker signed those a 3-year 105. I would say, listen, you can get that Baker Mayfield deal. It came out same draft as Baker Mayfield. I actually liked him better than Baker Mayfield coming out of college, but that's another thing. Oh, God, I got KTS. I got Keaton. We were talking, and it looks like Keaton's going to be a regular on Mondays. How great is that? And Keaton has a phenomenal YouTube channel. Check his channel out. Bryce isn't a terrible quarterback. Carolina isn't using him right, plus terrible. Yeah, I don't think he's terrible, but he's in a bad situation. I think that Andy Dalton's going to come in, and I think the offense is going to look completely different. I think Andy Dalton's going to stay as a starter. And listen, I mean, we've seen this. I mean, Mac Jones, after 2 years, he's in Jacksonville. Kenny Pickett, after 2 years, is in Philly. If you got a guy, and teams are not staying tied to these high draft picks. He is in a bad situation. Some of it's his fault. I think I don't remember if it was you or somebody in the chat who said that, the team to look at would be Miami. Like he would flourish in that offense. I think he would too, by the way. I thought it was a no-brainer going into that draft that CJ Stroud was a much better pro prospect. Much better pro prospect. This is very, very minor. But I remember at the combine, people gravitated towards CJ Stroud, including Bryce Young. There's one thing I pointed out, and somebody pointed out that they didn't see it, but one thing I noticed, Bryce Young had this bulky, huge backpack and this giant sweatshirt and sweats because he was trying to make himself look bigger. And hopefully his management crew told him that, like wear bulky stuff. Everybody else was wearing like t-shirt and shorts, and Bryce Young's got this giant backpack. And it was, I think it was done purposefully to make him look like he was bigger. Bryce Young should have bulked up this offseason, didn't do that. He doesn't look comfortable. The offensive line didn't work out. I remember they drafted Ike Ekwonu, the 6th pick overall. I fell in love with this dude. I'm like, oh, God, this guy's going to be a stud left tackle. He's just a guy. He hasn't developed at all. I mean, right now the Panthers are just in a really bad spot. After the season's over, they have to figure out what to do. But I think Andy Dalton's going to take over the reins for the rest of the year. And I think the offense is going to look a lot better. And then you have to figure out what you're going to do in the offseason with Bryce Young. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, I've seen weird situations where, hey, look, you make a move at quarterback and then that guy goes down. I mean, the offensive line isn't good in Carolina. I mean, you never know. We're going to find out because, he's going to Vegas. I'm going to watch the game. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The over-under on Morgan and Dave Canales. I really think both of them are going to last, and Bryce Young's going to be the scapegoat. Of course, Derek Brown, your best defensive player. The guy that's not going to last is Olavo or Jabo, the defensive coordinator. So what happened is, and this is a very unusual situation, when you bring in a head coach, you usually get to bring in your coaching staff. They kept their defensive coordinator from last year, and then they get rid of 4 or 5 starters off that defense, but they did keep Derek Brown. They gave him a big contract, which was, I thought, a genius move. And what happens week 1? Tears his Achilles. He's out for the year. So you lose 4 or 5 starters in free agency. You draft heavily on offense. They'll bring in a new defensive coordinator. And then in the draft, they got a lot of questions. Do they go quarterback? This is the defensive-laden draft, and they need a lot of help on defense. Is there a free agent quarterback out there? I don't think Darnold would want to come back, but is there another quarterback that's going to hit free agency that, hey, look, come in and start? Or do they have to go into draft and draft somebody? We'll see what happens. But this is going to be a very interesting situation. The defensive coordinator, or Rabo, something like that. He was in Denver. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's in a bad situation. He's going to be a scapegoat. So they'll go with a new defensive guy. And then they're gonna blame Bryce Young. They'll get rid of him and figure out what to do. So what would young trade values be? Should a quarterback needy team put an offer on him? Should the Jets trade for him? So I personally think that there is I would look at the Trey Lance trade to Dallas for a fourth. I think that's what you're getting. The Jets is interesting, but I think that Rodgers, I think they're planning on staying with Rodgers for, of course, this year and next year. If I'm Miami, I would, I know they signed Tyler Huntley, but I don't think they believe that that's the guy. I would inquire after the season's over if the Tua situation, that would be the first guy I would look at because I think you can get him cheap. You have to take a look. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd look, you brought up Rodgers. I would look at Stafford with the Rams. I mean, let's be honest. I think Stafford is an excellent quarterback, but he's playing behind a depleted offensive line. He's 38. I mean, Bryce Young in that Rams offense. Take a look at what Baker Mayfield did last year there. Like he arrived like the last couple of weeks of the season and played really, really well. Then he goes to Tampa, finds a home there. Bryce Young in that Rams offense can do some things, I think. We have a long season, but after the season's over, I think teams should call Carolina because I think Carolina is, if they draft a quarterback, they really need some help on the defensive side of the ball, and this is a defensive-heavy draft. So I could see them like just trying to accumulate draft picks. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions. Yeah, Swift is injury prone, but I think you're talking about DeAndre Swift, the running back with the Bears. I still think if you're the Bears, you lean on the running game, not on a rookie quarterback who looks confused. Yeah, Bowers. So this is a response. I apologize. I'm really behind on comments, but Bowers or Kittle, that's a great situation to be in. Little shout out to Keaton here. Thanks, man. I have another problem to solve. I need a wide receiver number. Oh, wow. Oh, God. I need wide receiver number 1, wide receiver number 2, and flex, and I can pick from Hill. Ooh, Tyreek Hill's always a good option. Collins, that's another good option. Godwin, another good option. Diggs, Metcalf, and Higgins. I don't know how I have to bench again. Okay, so I know that you're going to look at Metcalf. You're going to say he had 100 yards last week. I look at Seattle as a whole. I don't know what they're doing. They're run heavy one week. They're pass heavy another week. You also have Jackson Smith and Jigba that went over 100. You have Tyler Lockett. I think he had like 2 catches in that game. I don't see that happening again. T. Higgins, I don't know if he's even going to play. Diggs they're not even using him. So I think if you have Tyreek Hill, I think you got to play him. Nico Collins, if I'm correct, it's gone over 100 yards both games. You got to play him. I like Godwin personally. That's what I think your options are. I think your wide receiver number 1 is Tyreek Hill. Wide receiver number 2 is Nico Collins. You could flip-flop those and you're good. If you want to tell me Nico Collins because, you don't know what Skylar Thompson's going to do, I get that. I think you go with Godwin, and the only out of those 3, Diggs, Metcalf, and Higgins, Metcalf would be the only one that I would consider. But the one thing about DK Metcalf is he has these flash games, and then he has these flash games, and then in the next game he 1 catch, 20 yards or something like that. So, size speed combination, there's not a better player in the NFL, but, he doesn't run a full route tree. The hands aren't the best. wildly inconsistent. You also have two other really good receivers. Plus, if I brought this up because somebody asked about Charbonnet. If Kenneth Walker, gets a start, they may lean on him again. So another thing is I'm also not sold on Geno Smith. So, but I think Tyreek Hill. I mean, Nico Collins is playing lights out right now, and then I would go with Godwin, and I wouldn't even consider Diggs. If Higgins plays, maybe-ish, but yeah, I would wait. I would seriously, you may have some trade value with Higgins. If Higgins ends up being healthy, that may be an option. I would hold on to him. And if he is healthy, you may be able to get something in return. You may want to throw him up as trade bait. Hold on to Higgins, but don't play him. I don't even know if he's going to play. He may be out. Keep an eye out. But to answer your question, I think Tyreek Hill number 1, Nico Collins number 2, Godwin's your flex. I don't think Andy D would be much better in Young Falls the Panthers. I would be calling Ryan Tannehill. I think Andy Dalton will play significant. Well, hey, Barry, we'll have to find out. I really do. I think Bryce Young looks lost. And I think he's in a bad situation. I mean, there's no possible way you can be ready for this. I mean, you went to the number 1 high school. You went to Mater Dei Rel, or it's one of the prestigious California schools. They have they were the school that had it was 107 game win streak. Mater Dei Rel or whatever. Then he goes to Alabama. Now he goes to Carolina, and but yeah, but I think Andy Young will. I think you'll be surprised. I think. By the way, last time Andy Dalton started, he played really well, put up some big numbers. Didn't win, but put up some big numbers. I think it'll be better than you think. Choke 86 trade-offs offer Gibbs for Chase and Swift. Yes, especially if it's PPR league. I'll tell you why. Montgomery and Gibbs, they kind of split things. You're always going to get that. You'll get a game where Gibbs gets 150 total yards and 2 touchdowns, and you'll hate me. DeAndre Swift, they need to use more. I think they will lean on more, but here's why I say yes to this trade. Jamar Chase is a legitimate number 1 bona fide wide receiver. I know he had that costly penalty. I know he didn't have a good game. This is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. And there's going to be some games Swift's going to do the same thing as Gibbs. Absolutely take this trade. Unless your receiving core is so stacked that you don't need one. But I'll be honest, Swift for Gibbs is I like that. Now, keep in mind, I have a man crush on Swift, but take that trade. That's a good trade. Take it. Get Jamar Chase. He's going to be a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. Unless your wide receiver room is loaded, you're want to get a guy that you can start. And Swift and Gibbs are always going to be flex options. Ideally, I don't know if Gibbs is your running back number 1. You switch him for Swift. There's going to be some weeks you're going to hate me. Swift really just needs to be used more. I really believe that. And I think they'll start using him more in Chicago. So I would make this trade. Gibbs for Chase by itself is a good trade. If somebody offered you Gibbs for Chase just straight up, I would take that. Even though I like Gibbs in a PPR league, he's going to add a lot of additional value because they do throw to him. But Chase is a legitimate number 1 wide receiver who they need to get that contract situation ironed out. But he's a legit. I know he didn't have a great game against Kansas City. He's going to start racking up 100-yard games here soon. You want to hold on. You want to get Chase. That's a good trade. Take it. Perry, Dolphins wouldn't be a bad spot if they fix the O-line. I believe he needs talent and playmakers around and be successful to hide some of his flaws, and he does have flaws. Yeah, I already knew when he got drafted. Yeah. Jack Charbonnet had 38 yards running the ball, 14 carries. He did have a touchdown. Yeah. So if Kenneth Walker is healthy, Charbonnet is going to go on the bench. If Charbonnet, by the way, keep in mind, as Keaton will tell you, that he went against a tough Patriots defense. But if Kenneth Walker comes back, Charbonnet is going to be relocated to the bench. So I would love to know what other people think, but is this the same guy? I was offered Gibbs for Chase and Swift. Yeah, I would love to know what people think, but I think Gibbs for Chase straight up and alone, and then you get another running back. Yeah, make that move. Make that move. And I get why somebody offered you that, because somebody's offering you that. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You are getting Gibbs and you're giving up Chase and Swift. No, don't. I'm sorry. Is this the same trade? I got Gibbs for Chase and Swift, and I was offered Gibbs for Chase and Swift. I wonder if it's the same team. Listen, guys. Jamar Chase, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I think he had, through 2 weeks, I think it's like 7 catches, 70 yards. Jamar Chase is a legit number 1 wide receiver. Seriously. By the way, he's going against a bad secondary. Malik Neighbors, I think, had 10 for 127 and a touchdown last week against Washington. Let me see if I'm right. Let me see if I got that right. I could be wrong here, but let me double check here. Malik Neighbors, 10 for 127 and a touchdown. Okay. Last week, Malik Neighbors went for 10, 127 and a touchdown. Okay. Another LSU receiver. You're the Bengals. You're in a must-win game at home on Monday night against a bad secondary. You want to start Jamar Chase. You want to start Jamar Chase. He's going to have a good game. Love to know what you guys think. And by the way, if you guys think something different, I just offer my opinion. At Keaton, that hopefully, I hope so. I mean, it was a lot of fun last year. I mean, seeing Swift traded 2 years ago, Raquan Smith. It's always fun at the trade deadlines. I'll be interested to see what happens. I think the Lions will win it against the Cardinals. I picked the Lions, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a fun game. I really do. I have no faith in Goff. It's funny because I went to Luke G's show and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna win that and cover the spread." And now I got Lions fans telling me that, no, I don't like Goff, offensive coordinator Ben. It's like, okay, I mean, come on, man, you went to the NFC Championship game last year, but I get it. I don't know why I'm drinking an energy drink. I really don't need it. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, the Cowboys are always entertaining. Big game against Baltimore. They beat the Ravens. Then the Ravens, the hype on the Ravens when the new head coach will start. It's a lot of fun. No good coach will go to Jerry World. I love it. Jerry Jones has let the coaches coach and worry about being the GM. Facts. I agree. I'll tell you what, I said this in my NFC's preview video. Mike Zimmer came back as defensive coordinator. I think he's going to be the head coach in 2025. We'll see what happens. Remember, it's Jerry's world. That's the problem. Jones is keeping the Cowboys fans hope and hype to make the money. Dallas will not win the Super Bowl until Jones is gone. A lot of people agree with that, man. A lot of people agree with that. A lot of people agree with that. A lot of people do. You are not alone. The Vikings head coach is a good offensive coach. Yeah, exactly. And then Perry, Collins won, Godwin too. He doesn't think Hill's an option. But by the way, Hill would be, No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did because I'm new to Twitch. I set up the account, but I never broadcasted on it. So I'm glad you put the comment on YouTube, and I'm glad you did see it. So I'm glad to help out. I mean that's the whole point about doing this channel. So is ask questions. I'm going to get all these, but I am going to take a very quick commercial break. Hopefully, I have the right commercial lined up this time. So I'm going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back to the top of hour number 3, I'm going to answer all your questions and we'll kind of go from there. So stay tuned as I take a quick commercial break. Hopefully I got the right one lined up this time. As Afternoon Delight takes a commercial break, we remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate. The video in the description below shows how easy and fast it is to collect your bonus. Click on the link in the description below and start winning today. A friendly reminder that my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is being released tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Make sure you watch it. If you watch it twice, today's guest, Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports, will pay you $100. Well, that isn't true, but the video will be awesome. Make sure you check it out. Use the notification icon to make sure that you comment first. The first person to comment wins $1 million. Well, that isn't true, but it is true that it's going to be a great video and it's being released tomorrow. All right, I got the wrong commercial lined up. It's on me. That's on me. I bombed my commercials. But on a serious note, my week 3 picks video is out. Please check it out. It's fantastic. That is not a lie. And I'm going to make sure that I get all your questions answered. This is a good one. Do you think the Finns pick top 10? I think so. I mean, Tua's going to miss extensive time. You look at how many defensive players they lost. I know Anthony Weaver, I think, has done a fantastic job so far. But, there's some definite holes. A lot of people are sold on Mike McDaniel. A lot of people like Mike McDaniel. I'm not one of those people. Vic Fangio's in Philly. Anthony Weaver's a brand new defensive coordinator. And there's some holes on that defense. So I think it's a legitimate chance. And remember last year they said players dropping. So yeah, I think they could pick top 10, and I think like 9 to 15 somewhere in there. They're going to win some games. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't think this is a 4-win team or anything, but I didn't think they'd be a playoff team, even though a lot of people did. They were kind of a sleeper Super Bowl team. I didn't see that. I said the same thing in the video. I'm going to say now, Tua plays 17. They're a playoff team. I have no confidence Tua's going to play 17. He's not. So they could. I think if they pick top 10, it's like 9 or 10. They're not picking like 4th or anything like that. So and this is a good draft for the Dolphins because you have a lot of good defensive players. Now, if you're the Dolphins and you want to pick a quarterback, you might have to move up, and you might have to give up a player. We'll find out, but I think they could pick at the very bottom of the top 10. CMC will miss some games. I suggested a trade. I get CMC for Diggs and Jones. Is that fine? I mean, they're not really using Diggs, to be honest with you. I mean, I expect them to use Diggs a little more, but I mean, Diggs is a guy that I I don't think has a lot of value. I don't know the numbers, but I think he had like I think it was 2 catches, 30, 35 yards, something like that. Aaron Jones is okay. I don't know how healthy he's going to stay. Tough matchup this week. I don't expect a huge game from him. I mean, here's your issue is that you're trading for two guys that, I think Diggs is a bench player for right now. Aaron Jones is a flex option, a low end running back number 2. The thing is with CMC is when CMC comes back, he's a legitimate number 1. So I mean, it kind of. I'm not giving you a definite answer here because if Diggs is riding your bench, and Aaron Jones is a flex option, and you can replace him, I would make this move because you're getting a legitimate number 1 dude in CMC. When CMC comes back, you're especially if you're in a PPR league. So when CMC comes back, you're getting a minimum of 20 points a week out of CMC. You're not getting 20 points from Diggs and Jones at all. I mean, Jones may get that occasional game where he gives you, that 15 to 20. Diggs is going to have, probably, 5 to 8 touchdowns. Like he's not going to get shut out, next week, he plays Jacksonville. He may have, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. And, oh, wow, I got 10 points, I mean, but with CMC, you're getting 20 every single game. If you can wait for him to come back, that's your issue. But when he comes back, I mean, you're penciling in more points than both those guys together, and you're doing it like it's a lock. I mean, you start CMC, you're going to get 20 plus points. You start Diggs, at most you're getting 10 at most. And when is he going to score that touchdown? I don't know. Aaron Jones, you're probably getting like 10 to 15 points. I mean, don't get me wrong. Is there a game that he could come in and get you that 20-point performance? Sure, but right now he's a low-end 2 or a low-end flex. Ideally, your receiver situation's good, and Diggs is riding a bench. With Aaron Jones, hopefully, you got some other guys in there, but I'm giving you some ifs, but it's not bad if you can weather the storm that he's going to be out for 2 weeks. Or I'm sorry, I think it's 3 weeks. But if you can weather that storm and the last half of your season, you can get CMC who's going to put up 20 every single week if he stays healthy, and that's always a big issue with CMC, then you're in good shape. So. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. I mean, Neighbors had a great game. So Devontae, I've always liked Jalen Waddle. Yeah, make that move. Yeah. And here's why you want to make that move. You're starting with John Robinson. Connor, I think, is going to get phased out for Benson. So I would 100% make this move. Absolutely. I was thinking if I made the trade, I start Chase, Devontae, and Neighbors over Waddle. Yeah, that's what I would do. Full disclosure, because I love Waddle. Neighbors is going against a very, very, very difficult Browns defense. Like, don't get mad if you make this move and Waddle ends up with a touchdown and Neighbors ends up with 3 catches, 40 yards. Don't be mad at that at all because, Neighbors going against a depleted Washington defense is completely different than Neighbors going against a very, 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 very good Browns defense, especially in Cleveland. I wouldn't have a problem with you doing this. You may want to consider Waddle over Neighbors, and I say that because I know you have backup quarterback. I know you're playing in Seattle. Weather could be an issue in Seattle. One thing, not rain, but like if it's a monsoon, if it's cold, I would probably go Neighbors over Waddle. But don't get mad if Waddle scores a touchdown. Neighbors, puts up like 5 points. Don't get mad at me. You're giving up Gids and make that move. Yeah. But here's the deal. Going against the Kansas City Chiefs is different than going against Washington. Washington's really struggling in the secondary. They allowed Neighbors 10, 127, and 1. So Chase could have that monster game. I mean, Chase could have a 30-point game on Monday night. Yeah, that's why I was hesitant. No, I get it, and it's smart for you to be hesitant. But take a look at the two defenses that Chase has gone against. He's gone against a very good New England defense. They didn't do as well against Seattle, but week 1 they were ready to play. And keep in mind, Cincinnati starts off slow. Cincinnati's been 0-2. This is 3 straight years. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is light years different than Washington's defense. Washington has a bunch of new secondary players. Remember, they took the kid out of Mississippi State. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. Anyway, he's on the IR. That's looking like a terrible, terrible decision by the Washington Commanders. But they got a bunch of new guys in that secondary. They're running a new defense. They're really, really, really struggling. I think Jamar Chase this week is a must play. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to play or not. I'll tell you what, even if T. Higgins plays on Monday night, that may improve Chase's numbers just because, Chase is going to get a few targets and then Washington can't double team Chase. But I think even if Chase gets double teamed, he's going to produce. I seriously think Chase may have a monster game. It could be something ridiculous. It could be like 190 and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, you want to start Jamar Chase this week. It's a must start. Yeah, they could pick top 10. I do think Skylar. I think he means don't. Yeah. Skylar, it's funny. Pete from Pete's Takes was a little high on Skylar Thompson. I like Skylar Thompson, by the way. Athletic guy. But I mean, he's a guy that you kind of want to develop. You really don't want to play. What do you think about Daniels on the Commanders? I think I like Daniels coming out of the draft. I like him going to Washington. I think he's going to be fine. God, he's running the ball a lot, and that bothers me. But long term, I think Daniels is going to be a really, really good quarterback. I think he may have a decent game against. I understand. I don't want to sound nuts right now because you're watching the Bengals defense play Patrick Mahomes and giving him all sorts of problems. So I'm going to sit here and Jaden Daniels can do things Patrick Mahomes can. He might have a much better performance. For whatever reason, Lou Anarumo is dialed into Patrick Mahomes, but Jaden Daniels. I mean, I like what I've seen of him. I think going forward, he's going to get better and better. I think of all the rookie quarterbacks at the end of the year, we're going to say Daniels played the best. And I think that we're going to like what we're seeing out of Bo Nix. And I do like what I've seen. He's had a couple of rough performances. It kind of looks like Sean Payton's just saying, look, I don't care if you're a rookie or not. I'm going to treat you like a 10-year vet. Just we're going to throw out the full offense. You're just going to learn on the fly. And that's what the Colts did with Peyton Manning, and he struggled year 1. Year 2, he's a Pro Bowler. Year 3, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. Am I saying that's what happened with Bo Nix? No, but you can see that there's a lot of improvement. But I think you're going to see Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix kind of up here, and I think we'll see Caleb Williams kind of down here for year 1. But I like what I've seen Jaden Daniels so far. I don't know if he's going to have a great performance, but it wouldn't surprise me if he plays well on Monday night. Keep in mind the Bengals go 0-3 and they lose to Washington at home on Monday night. Like, the fire alarms need to go off. So they could. If the Saints beat the Eagles, do we start looking at them as a potential Super Bowl contenders, or is it all a fluke? What a great question by KTS. If the Saints do beat the Eagles, I would look at it more as Philly needs to start sounding the alarms and needs to kind of go into panic mode and look at who's available as a coach. That's what I would see. Even if the Saints lose that game, I think the Saints can, look at that whole NFC South. We, at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh yeah, it's going to be a bad division. 8-9 wins it. Now we're looking at the Bucs at 2-0. Now we're looking at the Saints 2-0. Now we're looking at the Falcons at 1-1. But to answer your question, no, either way. I still think the Saints, if they lose that game, they can say, hey, look, we're 2-1. We're in good shape. I think if the Saints are 3-0, I think I would look more at Philly and going, look, we just lost two games that Philly should go into every single game thinking, hey, we can win this game. They should, but I don't know if they will or not. If the Saints beat the Eagles, I'm looking more negatively at the Eagles. If the Saints lose, I'm still looking at them as like, this is still a team to fear. But start looking at them as potential Super Bowl candidates. I would still need to see more even after 3-0 before I start crowning the Saints. But I mean, right now it's the best story in the NFL, and it's fun, and I really want it to continue. Saints beat Philly. I think the Saints are healthy. I think the Saints are a good team when healthy. A lot of it has to do with health. Offensive line play, Fuego's playing lights out. I don't know the numbers, but Chase Young signed that 1-year deal to produce some pass rush. I don't think he's playing great, but I mean, he has a chance to kind of remember he had that great rookie season with Washington, a couple injury-riddled years, went to San Francisco, really didn't do much. If he produces, could be a big deal in free agency. Could be kind of the missing piece on the Saints. I mean, we were talking, a lot of us were talking about the Saints needing to blow that team up. There's a lot of age on that defense, but the defense is playing well. There's a lot of people are like, well, Saints need a quarterback. Well, Derek Carr's playing fine. I mean, wouldn't it be great? Alvin Kamara is a legit MVP candidate. How much fun is that? I always felt like the Saints should use him more as a runner, and then they get a offensive-minded coach coming in there going, hey, you know what? I'm going to let Alvin Kamara run the ball. It's that easy. It's that easy. And it's been working. The NFC South will be a fight between the Saints and the Bucs. The Falcons need to go on a hot run to be in the running. I like the Bucs and Saints better than the Falcons. It was kind of funny going into the draft. I kept on thinking to myself, this is a no-brainer. You signed Kirk Cousins. You take the best pass rusher in the draft. You take a guy like, Dallas Turner or Lobate Latu, which by the way is not doing very well with the Colts, even though a lot of people are talking about him, quote unquote, having TJ Watt vibes about him and all this stuff. Didn't really pan out. And then now you've given up, 473 yards rushing in the first two games. So Gus Bradley needs to turn around that Colts defense immediately. You asked about Baines. You're asking about the NFC South, and I'm talking about the Colts. But my point is that I had the Falcons as a lock to win that division when they signed Cousins. I said, all you got to do is take the best available defensive pass rusher in the draft. Then they draft a quarterback instead. And now they have to trade for Matthew Judon. Is this a 1-year deal, or are you able to keep Judon there long term? If the Falcons can keep Judon there for a couple of years, Then use their number one pick in this year's draft. There's a lot of good edge rushers out there. You could be building something really special there in Atlanta. With the Bucks, I mean, you know, I've seen this blueprint before, and it wins a lot of games. You have a really good defense. You have offensive playmakers. You have a good quarterback. You have a defensive-minded coach and a good defense with some really good defensive playmakers. That wins a lot of games in the NFL. Saints are the best story in the NFL right now. A veteran defense that's been good for a long time. Still has a lot of good veteran, a lot of older defensive players on that defense. They make plays. They're solid on all three levels. They got a good secondary. They got good linebackers, good defensive line. They went from 48 sacks in 2022 to 34 last year. I don't know Chase Young's stats. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if he has a sack. But there's a lot of age and a lot of good players, but that defense is playing well. That defense is playing well. What was it? They gave up 10 to Carolina or something like that. Nobody thought anything. They gave up 19 to the Cowboys in a blowout win. But nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about this offense from hell. Rashid Shaheed. I mean, all of a sudden he's the number one deep threat in the NFL. People are overlooking Chris Olave, whose first 2 years in the league, he's going over 1,000 yards. There's not a lot of receivers in the NFL history that starts their career with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I think he had I don't know his number. I think it was like 4 catches, 80 yards. Week one had 2 for 11. Hasn't done much, but I mean, you still got a stud in Chris Olave. I know. In the fireworks that's going on with the Saints, you still got a guy that's a stud receiver and Chris Olave. They're not even using. Alvin Kamara is a legit MVP candidate. How fun is that? But there's been a lot of teams that played well the first couple weeks of the season. Then all of a sudden an injury happens and they come back down to earth. As great of a story as the Saints are, if the Eagles beat them, are we still talking about the Saints as much, or is it like, it was a great 2 weeks, but Tampa Bay's a favorite. All right. I mean, Tampa Bay's actually a big favorite. What's the line here? 6.5, 7.5. Should know this. I just released the video. Going to BetUS here, 6.5 against Denver. How big of a story is it if Denver goes down to Tampa and Bo Nix gets his first win on the road against the Bucs? How big of a story is that? But I mean, the Bucs going 3-0. I mean, that's a lot of fun. I mean, when if the worst thing in the world happens and on Sunday Night Football, the Falcons at home upset the Chiefs? Everybody in the world is mad. Nobody is happy. Nobody wants to see it. By the way, this point spread is dropping. It's now 3.5. It's now 3.5. I did my video. I know for a fact it was 4.5. I made the video late. So, I mean, there's massive action on Atlanta already. Massive action on Atlanta. This line's dropped from 4.5 to 3.5. Wow. God, I might put some God on my I never recommend doing this. I almost want to buy the hook. For those of you that don't know, a half a point is called the hook. And I never recommend buying points, but I'm tempted to buy that half a point and go from 3.5 to 3 and taking the Chiefs. The money line's negative 180. I'm using BetUS. I have an affiliate with BetUS, as you saw in the commercials. I even though I played the wrong commercials, but yeah. Problem I have right now is I suck at the running back spot. I have Henry, Pollard, and Jones. Like, I have to do something. Yeah, so here's your problem. In a PPR league, you're getting nothing out of Derrick Henry unless he scores a touchdown. They're not using him in the passing game. They won't use him in the passing game. So unless he gets a touchdown, and I'll be honest with you, from what I've seen so far, I know he's had a touchdown in both weeks. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be one of these guys who gets 15 to 20 touchdowns on the ground. He probably should, but I don't like the way they're using him in Baltimore, which is a shame. Pollard and Jones are a low level too. Look, I hate to tell you this, but you're in a PPR league right now. You have to start Pollard and Jones. I don't know what the numbers are right now, but I can tell you that Baltimore's offense is not going to use Derrick Henry in the passing game. I actually am. You know what? I'm just for fun. Let's take a look here. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but let's just take a look here. Derrick Henry in 2 games has 1 catch, 12 yards. And correction, he has 1 rushing touchdown. I thought I was positive he had a rushing. Okay, no, okay. I'm sorry, he does have 2. 31 carries, 130 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So I mean, you know, he's getting you like in a non-PPR league, he's getting you like what, 12, 13 points a game. He did better for you last week than he did this week. 84 yards and a touchdown, probably got you 14 and a half. I'm not sure specifics, but in a PPR league, I would probably bench him. Let's see here. And against Dallas, yeah, I mean, God, and you know what the thing is that I'm not super high on Pollard and Jones either. But I mean, if I'm in a PPR league, I'm benching Henry. Let me see here. You can get CMC for Diggs and Jones. God, then yeah, if you do that, wow, because if you do that, you have Derrick Henry. Yeah. I might do that. I would do that because you're solid at receiver. And then I mean, keep in mind you're going 3 weeks. Here's your problem. You're going to go 3 weeks with leaning on your receivers. That's really hard. That's really, really, really hard. And I'm gonna level with you. If you make that move and get CMC, you're just going to struggle. Where right now you got 3 so options. You know. Man, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen is that you're going to be looking at the waiver wire and you're going to be looking at like who can I pick up the play running back if you do have a bench spot available. If you don't have a bench spot available, you're going to struggle for a couple of weeks. The positive is when CMC comes back, yeah, you have a legitimate number 1. Where right now you got a bunch of number 2s that are getting okay numbers. I'll be honest with you, Derrick Henry, this may be the week where he doesn't score and maybe gets you 5 points. So the tank for viewers. I was watching another YouTube channel, Monroe, the Alabama quarterback. Some people think he's a first-round pick. I like the size. I like the athleticism. I don't know about the arm talent. I also really worry about Alabama quarterback. I understand it's not Saban anymore, but you're still playing with NFL talent all around you. People are trying to tell me that Cam Ward is a Heisman favorite. Possible. He's the Miami Hurricanes quarterback. I don't know what he's about yet. Quinn Ewers, of course, got injured. Arch Manning came in, looked just as good. Yeah, the tank for Manning is going to be real, but I don't know about the tank for Ewers. Someone offered me Jamar Chase and Deontay for Kyren and Godwin. Take it. I list a few. I list my team a few messages above if you're interested in that. So here's your deal. Where is your team at? Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. You were offered Jamar Chase and Deontay. I don't have a lot of faith in Deontay, I'll be honest with you. So you would lose on Deontay and Godwin, or Godwin's a solid dude. Kyron Robinson's a guy I really, really, really like, especially in a PPR league. Let me see here. Where are your other running backs? You have Connor. Who are your other? Okay, you got Connor and you got Mason. Ooh, and you're gonna lose. Here's your problem. You're when CMC comes back, I don't think they're gonna do much with Mason. Most start. Honestly, when he comes back, you're in trouble. Doddle's a non-issue. Aguilier's not being used right. Did you just pick up Kareem Hunt? So the Chiefs just signed him to the practice squad. Am I drawing a blank here, or are you talking about Kareem? I got Kareem Hunt on the mind because I got Kareem Hunt on the mind because the Chiefs just picked him up, and I'm a Chiefs fan. Let me see if I can find that comment here. Where is it? So someone offered me Jamar Chase and Deontay for Kyren and Godwin. Here's your problem. So I like Jamar Chase over Godwin. I mean, you're losing on the Kyren Deontay part because the thing is about Jamar Chase is that I think Jamar Chase is going to put up a lot of numbers down the line. Deontay, I don't know what he's doing. His numbers will uptick with Dalton coming in. The problem with Kyren Robinson, I know he's played like garbage, but the offensive line is going to get better. The Rams are going to improve. And Godwin's a legit, I mean, he's the number one receiver in Tampa. I think he's a legitimate number 2. But the problem is that, I mean, who the hell are, I mean, here's your problem. You don't have another running back. Do you? Am I missing here? You got Jalen Hurts. I like that. James Conner, but his numbers are going to go down. I think Benson's going to get some more touches. Jordan Mason's only going to be good for a little bit. Algier, they're barely using in Atlanta. Dowdle, they're not using much. Mozart, I don't even know if he's going to play. And without Tua there, what's he doing? That's a man. I mean, with your lineup the way it is, I mean, you're in a PPR league. I wouldn't make this move, and I'll tell you why. You don't have a good running. You need to keep your running backs. Oduze's out for right now. I like Pickens, and I think Pickens is going to continue to uptick. So here's the deal: like Pickens in PPR league, ideally is a wide receiver number 2. And you don't. I mean, I like Laporta. I don't know why they're not using him more. I'm drawing a blank on AJB. It'll come to me any moment. AJB. I'm just drawing a blank for. I'm just drawing a blank on AJB. I mean, I like your quarterback. Connor put up some good numbers. I think that his numbers are going to go down. In your situation, Taco, I would not make this move because you're giving up. I think a running back number 1, even though he's not putting up the numbers. But they're using him a lot. He stays healthy. You really want to keep him. I really would do this. Godwin's a solid 2. Deontay, I don't. I mean, by the way, Deontay, you may get mad at me if he goes against the Raiders and gets like 80 yards and a touchdown. You're going to be mad at me. And I think Jamar Chase this week is going to have a monster game. But I'm looking at your running backs, and right now you're starting Connor. I mean, right now you're starting Mason. How long is that going to last? And Mozart, I have no idea what you're doing. I mean, look, let's say you do make this trade. I'm going to argue for it for a second. If you make this trade, Jamar Chase is your wide receiver number 1. He's going to put up some big numbers against Washington. I think he's going to have a big game. Okay. Connor could have a big game. I think he's going to get phased out. Mason probably going to have a good game. Oduze, I don't even know if he's going to play. You could start Pickens and Chase. I mean, there's worse things. AJB, I'm just drawing a complete blank on. And then Hunt, is this Kareem Hunt? I should know this. I'll be honest with you. I can argue for it. I really could. I'm going to say no because your running back room is weak, and I think Ron Robinson will start putting up numbers. I'm keeping an eye out. The Rams offensive line situation is bad, but they got guys coming back. You have a really good offensive-minded coach, and you have a guy who's put up really big numbers in the past. And also he's healthy. And you're giving up a solid number 2 for a guy in Deontay. You don't know what you're getting. And Jamar Chase, I think, is going to have some big numbers. And I think that you're going to be mad at Jamar Chase putting up some big numbers on Monday night and putting up some big numbers going on in the future. But in a PPR league, giving up who is on that team, I think he's your best running back. I know he's had a couple really tough weeks. Connor's the better running back for the first 2 weeks of the season. For the rest of the season, Robinson will outperform Connor. Believe that. But I could argue for that trade, Taco. I don't recommend it in your situation. I really, really don't. But Mozart, by the way, I haven't had a chance to check the injury report, but when Mozart, a lot of people think that Art Chain's going to take over as the number 1 running back. That's not necessarily true. I think when Mozart comes back, Mozart will be the 15 to 20 touchy guy. A-Chain will be like maybe 10 to 15 touches. A-Chain will go back. I do think there's a situation where you put A-Chain and Mozart in there together. So, but keep an eye out on that. Because if he's out again, because I mean he didn't play last week. I actually thought Wilson would be the number 2 guy, not A-Chain, but if Mozart's healthy, I think he's the number 1 guy. Pay attention to that too, because if Mozart is healthy, you have some interest. If Mozart's healthy, I can argue that maybe you make that move because you can use Mozart, you can use Connor, or actually you can use Mason until CMC gets back too. So I mean, I can argue for this trade. In your particular situation, I wouldn't use it because I think that you're going to get some value with Chase, but you're going to see Kyron Robinson. I think in a couple of weeks he's going to consistently start getting you 20 to 25 points a game. I know he's had bad couple of weeks. Another thing with Godwin is he's a legitimate wide receiver number 2. He's the best receiver in Tampa. I know Mike Evans is the bigger name. Godwin's the guy that gets. He's a guy that's always going to get you like 10 to 15 every week. Godwin. Deontay, you don't know what he's going to do. So I wouldn't make it, but I can argue for it. I hope that helps. Bucks will beat Denver. I hope so. Nobody wants to see Denver win. Philly has some of the most talent of all teams. Oh, God, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Philly Saints is a must-watch game. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a great game. I really like CJ Stroud. Oh, yeah. I think he's top 5. I think he's no question top 10. I think he's arguably top 5. Right now, legitimate MVP candidate. Yeah, I picked the Bucks. I like the Falcons. I really wish they would have done some other things. And the Saints, I thought were going to be better. The Saints, you remember, I was talking about the Saints being a sleeper team. Then in preseason, they had all sorts of issues on the offensive line. I was like, God, if this offensive line worked, then yeah, I could get on Saints. Now all of a sudden, the Saints are the best team in the NFL. It's going to be a fun division. Dan, that bet you were talking about where you need to pick all the winners. I forget the name of the bet. It's like picking who will finish 1, 2, 3 when you bet the ponies. Oh, you're talking a parlay. So I never recommend parlays, but what you do is a parlay is where you bet 3 teams. You have to have all 3 hit, but when all 3 hit, you make a larger amount of money. I never recommend parlays. The only way I would ever do a parlay bet was if I was betting 3 games, and let's say I was betting $100 on each game, the amount that I would win for 2 out of the 3, less than half of that amount I would do on a parlay. That way, because most of the time when you bet a parlay, it's one game that messes you up, whether it's 3, 4, or 5. I've seen some crazy things where it's a 16 parlay and a guy will like, it's a $10 16 parlay, but it payouts like $2,000 or whatever. And it'll hit 5 out of 6. Most of the time when you bet on a parlay, you hit all of them except for one. And what you want to do is if you're going to bet on a parlay, you want to set yourself up so that if you win 2 out of 3, you walk out with money in your hand. So most bets are negative 110. So a $100 bet wins you like 92 and some change. Let's just round it down to 90, which makes it a whole number. All right. So you bet 3 games, you win 90 and 90, and then you lose 100. So you're walking out of the casino with $80. The most I would bet on a 3-team parlay in that situation would be 35, because this way you still walk out of the casino with $45. But if you win all 3, then you're in a really good situation. But you want to set yourself on a parlay. The only way you do a parlay is whatever the number is, 3, 4, 5. You want to set yourself up so that in a 5-leg parlay, all right, I'm gonna confuse you here. On a 5-leg parlay, you want to set yourself up that if you win 3 out of the 5, you still walk out with some money. And that would be a much smaller unit. But keep in mind, a 5-leg parlay, if you hit a 5-leg parlay, even if you throw 10 or 20 bucks, that's usually a 4-digit win. So I don't recommend doing it. You're better off just over 98% of the time, you're better off just betting 3 or 5 individual bets rather than trying to hit a home run. Andre, what's up, brother? Dan, I need help, bro. What would you make 10-team half PPR Birdie, CD, London, Ramondre, Kamara, Laporta, Flex, Neighbors, Bench, JSN, Bowers, Rashid White, Reed, T-Law, Addison, Puka is on my IR. Okay, so let me see here. Purdy, you're starting Purdy. I don't see another quarterback. Okay, T-Law. I wouldn't bank on T-Law against Buffalo, but Purdy against the Rams, I think you got to take that. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you, as long as he's the way that he's playing right now, Kamara's NFL MVP, you got to keep running with Kamara. I'm higher on Ramondre. If it's a half PPR, Ramondre over White, because you're going to get more rushing yards, more likely to get a touchdown. If it was full PPR, you may want to lean towards White. Laporta and Bowers, that is interesting. I would lean towards Laporta barely. And the reason why is I think it's just a matter of time. However, I'm going to say this. I got a feeling Bowers is going to have a good game against Carolina. I really believe that, but I really have a hard time believing that they're going to stop. That Detroit's not using Laporta right. That's one thing I don't like. So I would kind of keep it the way you got it right now. So your flexes, Neighbors. I know London had a touchdown. I haven't checked the injury report yet on Addison, but I get why you would want to start London over Addison. Reed's also banged up. You can't start Reed right now. You can't start any Packers player other than Jacobs right now. Until Love comes back. So, God, I'm a huge Jackson Smith and Jigba fan. I know he had a big game last week. I also think the Patriots defense is good. Don't have a lot of faith in Miami either. I would really like to see more from London. I would really, really like to see more from London going against a really tough Chiefs defense. I would keep Ramondre and I would keep Kamara. I would keep Laporta, even though I'm liking Bowers quite a bit. I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna level with you. I really like Bowers this week. I think Bowers is a guy that I would really want to play this week against a bad Carolina defense. I think Bowers is going to have a good game, but out of the two players, I like Laporta more than I like Bowers. You could switch Bowers and Laporta. Are you in a situation, a half PPR league, that you want to start both? Maybe. And I say that because Neighbors had a big week last week. I don't see him having a good week this week. I mean, you're going against a tough Cleveland defense, and if I'm Cleveland, I mean, it sounds crazy, but if I'm Cleveland, I would try everything I could to shut Neighbors out, and try to have Wendell Tinsdale try to beat you, or Singletary. And you're not running against Cleveland, so I wouldn't bank on Neighbors. I would really pay attention to Addison. And I don't know his injury situation at all. Reed's not somebody you can count on. Of course, Puka's out. I always like going quarterbacks or running backs if you can. I'm gonna give you some crazy advice here. I mean, Purdy and CD are no brainers. I think Ramondre and Kamara are no brainers. You may want to get a little crazy and play both Laporta and Bowers if you can. I know it sounds crazy. You may want to do that. I think both those guys are due for good games. I'll be honest with you, though. I also see a situation where Rashid White. I mean, here's a guy that they use a lot in the passing game, so it's half PPR. Okay. Final answer here. Put Rashad White as your flex. All right, put Rashad White as your flex. You're in a bad situation with Neighbors in London. Both of them are putting up, or both of them are going up against really, really good, defenses. Both of them are going really good defenses. I don't know Addison's injury situation. Let me just look here real quick, because I'm going to level with you, and I know Minnesota's going against a tough Houston defense. No, don't go against somebody who's questionable. All right. Flex, go with your flex as Rashid White. Stay with London. Stay with Laporta. But I'm going to say stay with Laporta, but don't get mad when Bowers has 12 to 15 points. And I do think there's a very good chance. Put Rashad White in there as your flex. I have such a man crush on Jackson Smith and Najigba, and I could see him having another good game, but I stick with London this week. Seriously, with Laporta and Bowers, I don't think you have too much of an issue. I would bench Neighbors. I honestly, I would go with Rashid White. I always like running backs in PPR leagues. He could easily get 6 to 8 catches for you. Plus, he could go for 100 yards on the ground. He's a threat to put up, 20 to 25. I don't think Neighbors definitely isn't going to do that this next week. CD London. London, I know he had a touchdown, but I'm not sold on that offense at all. Plus, you're going against a really good Chiefs defense. I can make a strong argument for JSN to start over London. I can make a very strong case for that. But you got 3 receivers there in Seattle, and if Kenneth Walker comes back, he'll bite into some of those opportunities. London could do the same thing he did last week, have a late touchdown. And London's got talent. It's just that you have some issues with Kansas City. So Laporta or Bowers, there's no real wrong answer. I would get Rashad White into the lineup. Definitely get Rashad White into the lineup somehow. with receiver. London, JSN. I think it's between those two guys. I'm leaning London. I'm not 100%. I'm like not 100% on it, but leaning London. Hopefully, it helps you out, Andre. Giving you a lot of wishy-washy here, I know, but Laporta and Bowers, no wrong answer. Leaning Laporta by this much, just because I can't see him. He's got to start producing. I do think Bowers is going to have a good game against Carolina. And then London or JSN. I think that those are your two options right there. Leaning London, but honestly, if you started JSN over London, I wouldn't hate you. Hopefully it helps you out. I am no, you're not cooked. You're not cooked. I got some solid players at receiver, but I don't like your running backs. And one thing about Derrick Henry, he's not really good in BPR. Only 10 minutes left. I'm going to do my best. Actually, down to 6 here, so I'm going to do my best to answer all these questions. But if I don't get to your questions, do me a favor. Drop a comment below. DM me on social media, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. I would keep Jones and Diggs if both are healthy. Alabama quarterbacks don't do well in the NFL. Excuse me. You're right. You're right. Jalen Hurts didn't do that well. AJ Brown. Oh yeah, God, yeah, yeah. It sucks. You can't get rid of him, but he's not. By the way, AJ Brown's not on IR, but he's not playing next week. So, Champy, my Cards put the NFC on notice Monday. Marvin Harrison Jr. out there looking like a young Randy Moss. They should have used him more week 1. Best bird team in the NFL this year is the Cardinals. I love it. Is that a win-win for Kansas City and Hunt? If Hunt can play well, will that get him another NFL contract? It will. It will if he does. The Chiefs just signed him to the practice squad. I'm going to level with you. I don't even think he'll play against Atlanta. But the following week, we'll kind of keep an eye out. But, yeah, it will help him get another NFL contract. He's got to be on the straight and narrow in Kansas City, and I don't expect him to play against Atlanta, but I'll keep an eye out on it. Godwin is a number in Tampa. I think he's a number 1 in Tampa. He really is. Trade question: trade London for Ayuk due to injuries, full PPR. I would. I really would. And I want to be very clear. I don't know what he did last week. I don't think he did much, to be honest with you. I want to check out his numbers real quick. But Deebo Samuel is going to be out. 4 catches, 43 yards. He'll continue to improve. I know London had that big touchdown. I would make this move. Nothing much. BetUS, yes. I'll trade anybody, by the way, Dan, except for CD. Yeah. On your lineup, the way your team's set up, I would recommend the same thing. With Alvin Kamara, keep starting him until he has. Yeah, I mean, he looks like NFL MVP. Ramondre Stevenson, in a half PPR, he doesn't catch a lot. I also think he's going to start splitting time with Antonio Gibson, but I do think he's a solid on your team. I think he's very, very solid. But yeah, I agree completely. I was thinking of packaging London Neighbors for another monster wide receiver running back and another piece. I would not. I'm not sold on London. I know he had that touchdown reception. I'm not sold on him. Neighbors this week only against Cleveland, but Neighbors at 10 catch, 127 yard, 1 touchdown performance. You're going to see that again. Keep an eye on the Neighbors. And by the way, I mean, let's say Daniel Jones starts playing better. Just Neighbors, I think, is a keeper. Hold on to Neighbors. Yeah, you're right for now. Keep in mind, like, I have no confidence in Daniel Jones, and I think Brian Dable is going to be fired. But I do think that they're in a situation where they can just they may just have to force feed the kid. If I was you, I would 100% hold on to Neighbors. Do not get rid of Neighbors. Please don't. For now. London, this would be the time to trade him fresh off of that Monday night performance, because I don't have a lot of faith in Drake London. I don't have a lot of faith in that Falcons offense, which unless you're Bijan Robinson. I like Bijan Robinson a lot. I've always had a man crush on Kyle Pitts. I like what I've seen out of Mooney too. I always really liked Mooney, but you may be able to strike while the iron's hot and get some good value for London. Do not trade Neighbors. You're really going to hate that. Bowers, he is the number one option with Vegas, Laporta. So Adams is the number one, but I could see Carolina going into that game and saying, okay, the Raiders aren't a threat to run the ball. We can bracket Davante Adams, and I think Bowers is going to have a good game. I think Bowers is going to have a good game. Dan, should I try to trade Neighbors for London or London for Rice? If you can get Drake London for Rice, do it, but keep Neighbors, because that 10 catch, 127 yard, 1 touchdown performance, you're going to see that again. You are going to see that again. And Rice is a number one in Kansas City. With London, I have no confidence or faith in the Atlanta offense at all. And I think it was just kind of a fluke there. But do you think Pitts will live up to draft position? Not. I need to see more that you have a defensive-minded coach, and they're kind of playing like a defensive-minded team. But I mean, he's got the athleticism. Of course, he's coming off the injury. I need to see more, but right now it doesn't look like it. All right, guys, that's it for Afternoon Delight. Tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a fantasy football special. All fantasy football questions are going to be answered. Plus, I'll go over a little bit of college football, but it's going to be Fantasy Football Wednesday tomorrow. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments I didn't answer, drop a comment in, DM me. If you're old school, you can email me, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com, and I will get back to you later tonight and definitely tomorrow. Have a great night. I hope you all come back tomorrow for Fantasy Football Wednesday.